I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the share, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
I'm Dreme, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, everyone. This is Michelle. Michelle, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Robinson Ewing. I am a retired naval officer. I spent 27 years in the military. I served across ranks from an enlisted sailor to an officer. I didn't like people telling me what to do, so therefore I had to make rank so that way fewer people could tell me what to do. I've been retired since 2015. I have two beautiful daughters, one of whom was married on Loving Day, because that holds significance for her and her partner. And she's going to be 31 years old. My youngest daughter is 21. She is a student at Howard University. She is studying chemistry.
Hey.
Because she would, I know, I was like, girl, you go ahead, girl. Have fun with that. Right? Had fun, all the fun with that. Because she would like to be a cosmetic chemist. She wants to create beauty products that are good for our skin. She just wants to make sure that our skin is taken care of. So I'm super proud of both of my girls. My oldest daughter, she works in she's like the computer science field. So her and her partner, they are also, doing very well. I'm just super proud of both of them. I am a daughter of two Scorpios. I'm an Aries, right? So they already let you know I'm gonna bring the fire, honey. I'm gonna bring the fire. I'm an Aries by way of two Scorpios. So you can only imagine what what you can get when you get me. Like I said, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Right now, I live between Brooklyn, New York, helping with my parents' caretaking needs, and Virginia Beach, Virginia. Okay, because when I retired in Virginia Beach, the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, which I really have no ties to. So I'll probably end up more likely back here in New York and go there when I need a break, because New York is like sensory overload. I think I've gotten a little accustomed to just kind of chilling, not having to find parking first thing in the morning because they got alternate street parking. I think that drives me the most. And right now, I am building my business. I help people with their money. I'm also working on being a holistic health coach. It's a little hard to streamline things because I've done so much in my time on this earth. I specialize in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm also a social justice warrior. For me, social justice is freedom. And that means removing ourselves from these chains, whether it be the chains of diabetes, the chains of financial woes, the chains of high blood pressure. So I'm a liberator. You know, I'm part of the Harriet Tubman tribe. So I'm here to help liberate people from where they were to where they want to go. You know, based on their own terms. It's not based on my terms at all. It's based on their terms. It's like, this is where we are. Where do you want to go? In order to know where you want to go, you got to also know where you are. So I help them assess where they are in their lives from a holistic perspective. And then we was like, okay, well, then where do you want to go? Like, what do you want? Because I mean, it's not up to me. It's your life. I think society has been telling us enough of who we are and what we need to be and what we need to do. I'm over it. Right. So it's like, live life on your terms as long as it's not causing some harm to somebody else, and you living your life how you want. Ain't harming nobody, especially they need to mind their damn business. Right. Because if we all minding our business, we not worry about who's marrying who and who's presenting what way. And they mind your damn business, you know, and focus on your spiritual growth and your spiritual healing, because that's what this is really all about. We need to heal. We need to heal. That's a little bit about me.
Michelle and I met like over 5 years ago now.
Oh, yeah.
At a retreat where we were studying the levels of oppression and also thinking about self-care and what does radical self-love look like. And I just happened to be sitting next to Michelle in a lot of our group sessions, and we were just having our own separate conversations, and you were just imparting so much wisdom, just like growing up and what it meant. And this was right before I moved to China. So
Yes.
I was like moving back home from California. I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. I was frustrated with all the racist systems that I was in and trying to combat that. And so this retreat happened to be right at the crux of me just asking a lot of questions, and there were a lot of older folks, elders in the room, and you were able to be one of those people who were like just giving me different pieces of wisdom, just to like remember to breathe and remember to understand that you have so much more life to live. And since then, you know, we've just been, of course, Facebook friends and just like checking in every now and again. And so when I started building the podcast, I definitely need Michelle on here to just impart some wisdom. And you've seen me starting to build the platform. Like, you've just seen me at the beginning of a lot of different stages, which I've just been very truly grateful for. And thinking about your world, how did the Navy come about for you?
Girl, first of all, I just want to tell you, I'm so exceptionally proud of you. You know, even when I met you, you was such a beautiful spirit. And I was so proud of you when you spoke to an oppressive moment that occurred. You know what I mean? I was like, that's what the hell I'm talking about, right? You know, when you can speak your truth in front of all these people, a lot of who were elders, right? But being the baby of the group, because you were the baby of the group.
I was. I was the youngest person in the room. And
you were the baby of the group.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, by a lot. Like, I was still in my, I'm like in my 20s, and Michelle is talking about the moment where like we were doing scenarios and we were trying to show what like oppression can look like in different aspects. And it was me and another elder in the room, and we were having a disagreement, but about like what education can look like for Black kids. And he was a Black man and I am a Black woman, so we were having just like a core disagreement. And we're in the room with other elders, we're in the room with other white people. It was just a lot of differences in the room. And when people spoke their mind, there wasn't a lot of challenges, right? Because I think there was just so many levels of respect there. And for me, I was like, okay, I respect you, but I still disagree. And because I disagree, what does that look like for us to be able to still have a deeper conversation with our disagreement about how we view education for Black kids? How do we talk through that? What does that look like? And my response was well received. I was nervous, of course, but I was like, I'm going to say this because I'm going to regret it later if I don't have this conversation now.
Yeah. And at some point, you mentioned I'm trying to talk and you're trying to shut me down. And it made him aware of his form of oppression over you.
Yeah.
You made him aware of that. And that was such a beautiful moment. And for him to say, I apologize. I didn't even realize it, right? And that just goes to show how quickly we can move to a place where we will oppress another during a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
How did I come about going into the Navy? That's a story in itself. I had gotten angry with my father. I am a daddy's girl, right? And I had moved in with my father after I graduated from high school because I always wanted to live with my father. You know how it is. The custodial parent gets the worst rap, right? And the non-custodial parent gets all the glory, right? No different in my household. But also my father was the nurturer. My mother was not a nurturer. And my mother was all about providing and protecting. Right. And my father, although he also did those things, he was also my nurturer. He was more nurturing. So, of course, I had more of an affinity towards him because my father accepted me for who I was. I felt like I didn't need to be anybody else but the apple of his eye. Right. Mother was more critical. She did more critiquing. And I think a lot of times mothers do that to their daughters because they're trying to prepare them for the world. They know exactly what it is they're going to have to face out there. So they lose track of the other part that we also need to be poured into and things like that. Well, my mother anyway, I won't say it's my mother. And I also perpetuated the same thing with my oldest daughter. So I moved in with my dad and me and him got into it. For the first time ever, he actually struck me, but I got mad disrespectful. I told you my mouth, I'm an Aries, right? By way of 2 Scorpios. So I had got like crazy disrespectful. So and he didn't hit me hard. I think it hurt my feelings more than anything, right? But it got my attention and I didn't speak to him for a month. And I knew somebody that was in the service in the Navy, somebody that was a classmate of mine. So I was like, what are you doing out there? And he was telling me, I was like, I'm going to join the Navy. Top Gun had come out a couple of years before. So I was primed. He was like, don't do it, shorty, don't do it. And I said, I'm coming there where you at. He's like, you don't know if you're going to get stationed where I'm at? That's not how it works. I was like, I'm coming there. And I was mad at my dad when I did that. So I called the recruiting station. But then me and my dad made up. So I wasn't answering their calls, right? So I finally answered the call and I was like, hello. They was like, this. I was like, why y'all keep calling? They was like, you called us. Because I was like, y'all keep calling me. They were like, you called us. So just come take the test. Did you graduate from high school? I was like, yeah, but, whatever. They said, okay, just do us a favor and come take the test. I said, well, I can do that. If I come take the test, will you stop calling me? They said, yes. And I said, all right. So I went down to the recruiting station and see, this is how they got me. They had Chief Rodriguez. Let me tell you, that man was fine as all get out. He was Puerto Rican. He had these eyelashes that looked like fans, girl. You hear me? I was like, okay. And I was like, what took me so long? I was 18, and I was like, hi. He said, so how you doing? I was like, I'm good, And he's like, so you going to take the test? He said, can you take this pre-test for me? I was like, I sure can. I was like, I absolutely. So I took the pre-test. And I scored very well. They was like, oh, wow, you did really good. He's like, so now you want to go take the official test for us? I was like, okay, I'll go. He said, and then he said, okay, Al's going to take it. I was like, I don't want him to take me. I thought you was taking me. And he was like, no, I can't go. I got to stay here, watch the state. I'm the boss here. But, he'll take you. I was sitting there looking like he don't look as cute as he do. I didn't want to be riding in the car with him. I wanted to ride with Chief Rodriguez, I was like, he's like, will you do it for me? And what, them fans, do it? I was like, okay, but I get to come back here, right? Am I gonna see you when I come back? He's like, I'll be here when you get back. Okay, right. So I went and I took the test. Girl, before I know it, I had signed papers and I had a job and everything, right? I just got swept into it. You know what I mean? And then I came back. He's like, you did really good. And what job did you get? I was like, I got this one. They were like, wow, I'm surprised they didn't give you the 6-year program because, that's one of those ones where you can go for 6 years and you get rank after this amount of time. He's telling me how the process goes. I was like, I ain't know nothing he was talking about. I just know he was fine. Right. And to his credit, he was never inappropriate. But I know he knew that I was crushing on him, right? And he just allowed that to work to his advantage. But he never tried to exploit it, because you got some recruiters out here where they are not as they don't have as much integrity. And I have to say that he had a lot of integrity, and he did not take advantage of the fact that this young girl was, gushing all over him. I was like, well, I did it now. I was the oldest child. You have overdeveloped sense of responsibility, because I was the oldest and my mother's only child until I was about 15. So I was like, well, I got myself into this situation now. I said, I'm going to just go and I'm going to come back. Because I overheard my father telling my mother, she ain't going no damn where. He was like, well, we going to support her. So he was like, she ain't going nowhere. She go and she got to listen to somebody. She got to actually make up her bed. She ain't going. She's spoiled. She ain't going. Because my mother was like, you baldy and my daughter leave, But part of it was her fault too, because when I got into it with my father and I tried to come back home to her house, she was being a little vindictive. And she said, oh no, you want to go over there, so now you go over there and you stay and you work it out. I said, okay. So I went back, and next thing you know, I was like, oh, I'm joining the Navy. She was like, okay, you can come back home. I was like, well, it's too late now to sign on the dotted line.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hairboards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In the chair, the chair, the chair. All right.
So I was going to go and teach both of them jokers a lesson. I don't got to put up with this.
What were you,
right?
What was like the job that you got, and what was your year limit that you signed?
I had gotten signed a typical 4-year contract, and it was for aviation electronics technician. And at the time, they had a program where you could do a 4-year contract as an aviation electronics technician, or you could do a 6-year contract as an aviation electronics technician. And that was called after. Like, they give you advanced training. So therefore, with that advanced training, you get 2 more years of an obligation, where I just did the one that was basic.
Oh, okay.
I did the 4 years. So I went to A school. So the 4-year one, you went to A school and you gave them the 4-year, and that was a 9-month school, right? But the after program gave you A school and C school, right? So that added 2 more years onto their contract. So it was just more training. And I think it might have been they were in there for about a year and some change. They were in training about a year and some change, where with me, it was like 9 months.
So I'm just thinking about the stereotypical Navy experience that I have in my brain about, like, you wear the fancy sailor outfit and you live on a really intense military boat. Like, was that is what I imagine when I think of someone who joins the Navy, and then you have to like learn like how to swim intensely. Like, I think of those things. Was that your experience?
Actually, it wasn't. So I'm gonna tell you. First of all, I tried to leave. I got there to boot camp, and I was like, "Okay, I'm here now." I called my father. I said, "Hey, Dad, I made it." He said, "Where?" Because they come get you in the middle of the night so that nobody can change their mind. Oh yeah, they knock on your door. Old Dark 30, and it's a process to it, right? And they try to get you out of your hometown as soon as possible because they don't want us to get a chance to get pregnant, the women, because you can't go through boot camp pregnant, and they don't want the community talking you out of it. So they try to whisk you off as soon as possible.
Oh, wow.
And if they can't whisk you off as soon as possible, they have you do what they call a DEP program, delayed entry program, where you go and you hang out with the recruiters like once a week, and they have you calling people and answering phones because they're trying to keep you connected so you don't get into trouble. Because you get into trouble, it can derail your career, right? You end up not being able to go in. So I did that, and then when they come and get you in the middle of the night. The buses leave early. They put you on a plane. Yeah, they get you out of there. My father was still sleeping when they came and got. They was like, "Okay, we'll be there to get you." I think it might have been like 4 o'clock or something like that. Who in Brooklyn is up at 4 o'clock other than the sanitation workers? You know what I mean? And transit, right? So they come get you. I went there. I was like, "Okay, I'm here." I called my father. I was like, "I made it." He's like, "Made it where?" I was like, "I'm in Orlando, Florida." He's like, "Orlando, Florida." I was like, "Yeah, remember I told you they was coming to, come get me?" He's like, "Oh, okay." He was surprised that I actually left. Then I was like, "Okay, I'm ready to go now." They were like, What do you mean you ready to go?" I was like, "I just came to prove to my parents that I would leave, but I'm ready to go back now. I actually really want to join the Navy." They were like, "Yeah, okay, no private bench. You're going to be here with us. We see right now, we probably doing your parents a favor." Right? And because I was the oldest child and I had an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, I just was like, well, I just got to deal with it. I'm here now, so I might as well make the best of it. I have a good way of adapting. I'm very good at adjusting to situations, unless it's extreme oppression. Then you got to fight on your damn hands. I'd be like, you can kick rocks and flip flops. I ain't doing it, right? So if it feels like it's oppressive, no. But if it's something that I signed up for and it just requires me to like train and get in line, follow orders, no big deal. So what happened in boot camp was you get assigned with 83 other women. I'm a woman, so it was all women. I think now they even, mixed gender. I don't know. But back then it was 84 of us. And you stay in this long barracks and the beds are, you seen it on the shows, right? It's like that for real, right? And you're learning how to be in the Navy. You're learning how to wear the uniform. You're learning how to polish your boots. You're learning how to make up a bed. You're learning all those things. You're getting different trainings. You're getting firefighting training, holding the hose, because they preparing everybody for going on a ship, even if you're not going on a ship. Because I didn't go to a ship until very much later because I was an aviation. I was an Airedale, right? So as an Airedale, I worked on aircraft. I didn't, and women were not allowed on combatant vessels at that time, which I would have had to go on an aircraft carrier because I was an Airedale, right? But women weren't allowed on aircraft carriers at that time. So I was in a squadron. So you go through boot camp, you learn how to wear it, you learn how to take orders, you learn how to march, you learn how, all these things. Really what they're doing is breaking you down and building you back up. So that way everybody's starting at the basic level of knowing how to be a sailor. Right now, I was a daddy's girl, and one of my company commanders was a man with daughters. So you know how that worked out. Right? Please, Petty Officer Scott, can we do such and such? Right? I got there, and I was made the master at arms. That's the second in command. Right? So leadership has been showing up in my life all my life. Right? So he was like, you can be, he asked me what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. And I didn't want to be the recruit chief petty officer because I didn't feel like marching all them jokers around the base. I just didn't want to do that. So I was like, I'll be master at arms. So he gave me my choice. That means you're in charge of everybody whenever there's a cover above you, like inside. Even if you're outside, if you're underneath an awning, I'm in charge. Right? So I did that. It was quite an experience. Evidently, I was so effective that when the time came for us to make our company flags, my face was the biggest face on the flag, and our company commanders was in two boxes on the side. Right. But they had me there saying, I know y'all want y'all mail, because that's what I used to threaten them with. I'll give them their mail 5 minutes before taps, and then they can't read it to the next day if they was acting up, right? I was a little bully, right? And so we got through boot camp. Then you go to your training school if you come into the Navy with a job. Some people come into the Navy what they call as an apprentice, right? You get to figure out what you want to do. Bad deal. Get a job before you come in and change it later. Right? But I had a job. So I went to my A school and I got training. I got in trouble in A school. So I got broke. I made rank in boot camp. They promoted me to E2 in boot camp. I got to A school, got in trouble, and got reduced in rank back to an E1. Right? Then, 9 months later, you just make the E2 back. That's how it goes. Right? And so I finished A school, had some experiences there. I had my first harassment. I was being harassed by one of my instructors because I am a leader, right? And they want you to be on this whole humble thing. You know what I mean? I think some of it had to do with racism, but I think some sexism might have been in there as well. Because you weren't going to talk to me any damn way you want to, right? I don't care if I am in uniform. I am a person before I'm a sailor, right? So you are going to treat me with dignity and respect. That is what I expect. One of my instructors didn't care for me because I always spoke out. I've always been that way. I don't care if none of y'all want to say nothing. I'm going to say something. And if things are not fair, I'm going to speak up about it.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show.
You come to the end when you have to get your final test. And because he didn't like me, he kept giving me a safety hit, right? But he was standing right over me the whole time, right? And I go, oh, you got a hit, you got a hit. And I told my partner, I said, I'm so sorry. He was like, it's okay. So I went and I told my chief, and I said, this is what's happening to me. I said, and he is all up on me. So I'm starting to feel harassed. Somehow I knew the things to say. I don't know how, but I knew the things to say. And so my chief made a call because the next time he couldn't even come near me. It was the other instructor that had to come and, check everything and stuff like that. He couldn't even come near me. He had to stay over there. So I knew that my chief had handled the situation. So that was one of the first times I had to stand up for us. I stand up for us in class as well. They would say certain things. I'd be like, oh, really? I'd be like, okay, well, I want to see the gunny. And he was in, charge of the schoolhouse. And they like, what do you mean? Well, I want to see the gunny because that's what you say, but I need to hear it from the gunny. And my classmates used to be like, oh, Michelle, you want to get us in trouble. I don't give a damn. Then we just going to be in trouble. Okay, because XYZ 1, 2, 3. And then when the gunny would come and I would tell him, because then what he said, he was like, well, just always remember, shit rolls downhill. Noted. So when the gunny come up in there, and he said, what's the problem? I said, this, that, and the third. And I was told that shit rolls downhill. He was like, and my instructor got in trouble, right? He was like, well, no, that's not appropriate, so and so. And we used to just get certain perks too. Like I would say, well, I think that we should be allowed to go to McDonald's today. And the gunny got to the point where he would come and he'd be like, yes, Airman Robinson, because he knew who was calling for him. Right? He knew who was calling for him. He know wasn't nobody else calling for him. He's like, yes, Airman Robinson, what can I do for you today? I was like, well, gunny, I think we should be able to go to McDonald's. And he's like, and why do you think that? I was like, well, because we have completed all our work and such and such. It's not our fault that other people not finished with this. Our class, we're finished. So I feel as though rather than sitting here looking at each other, we should be able to go to McDonald's and have a treat. And so he like, let me get y'all some Road Guard vests. And he would go, and then we got to go, right? So they started to see, oh, it's okay. Now they love me, right? Because I'm getting us all these perks. But when I was getting the instructor in trouble for mistreating us, they didn't like it.
Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your stories in the chair. Like, I truly, truly appreciate it. Like, I've learned so much today.
Thank you. I'm glad I could help. I really am.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that one star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your...
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story. Where we share